Hi folks, and welcome to another update, install, upgrade video, whatever you'd like to call it. What am I up to today? Well, I've seen these Steeda rear shock upper mounts in billet aluminium on the forums. Have been talked about very favourably, and I actually know a guy who's bought a set over here in the UK, and he's said that he could definitely tell a difference in the ride quality of the car. So I thought, well, there's not many people who don't like a bit of extra bling, so why not? I'll buy a set and fit them as well, and we'll do a little bit of a review on them. So I ordered them from Steeda on Friday, and they came today. And I've got to say that my initial impressions of the quality of the component itself is very favourable. They really do look like a proper piece of engineering, which is, let's be honest, no less than what you would expect from Steeda. To be honest, I've got other Steeda stuff on my car, and everything I've ever bought from them fits perfectly and is extremely high quality, so there's no surprise that these should be the same. However, I did think when I saw them that I thought they were on the bit expensive side, but actually now I've got them in my hand, I've had to change my mind, to be fair, and say, to be honest, I can see where the money's gone into machining a component like that. They really are very nice. And so what's the advantage? What's the difference? Well, the original upper mount off the Mustang is just a cast aluminium part, obviously built to a budget. This is a machined precision component, so that's the main difference. The other difference is that the factory part has a rubber bush in here, and obviously as the suspension is moving and so on, that bush is being pushed and pulled in all sorts of different directions, whereas this component has a bearing in there, a spherical bearing, and this is the machined bolt that goes in there, and it's you know, it is a machined fit, so it's very nice, and very tight tolerances on there as well. So what I'm going to do is fit this to the car, and then later on, another time, I'll go for a drive and we'll see what sort of a difference it makes. But I thought I'd just do a little video of the fitting procedure. It looks pretty straightforward. Basically remove the existing shock, take off the top mount and replace it with that mount. There's nothing too taxing in there, I don't think, so we'll crack on and get it done and see what type of a job it is. So first things first, as always, jack the car up and make it safe, which it is. It's up on. It's got an actual stand under there. That's under my Steeda jacking rails as well, actually. So they've been very useful. They have. So going to remove the wheel and remove the shock absorber, which, as I say, it shouldn't be too big of a job. So let's crack on with that. Just in case you were thinking they came off a bit too easy, I had actually loosened them with a breaker bar before. So road wheel off. I've already removed the road wheel, and you can see the shock absorber there. It's held on into the car with 4 bolts, 2 at the top, which you can see there, and 2 underneath. The 2 top ones are 18mm and the 2 bottom ones are 15mm, and then undo those and remove the shock, and then we'll get into changing that top mount for the Steeda one. So as I say, removing the shock should be pretty straightforward. 15mm underneath. Those 2 out. 18mm socket at the top. It's not just the wrong socket. probably going to need a little bit of a persuader to remove the shock. There are two little locating pegs here, and the shock actually gets wedged behind those, so just a bit of a lever just to lever it out. There we go. And it should pull out. There we go. Okay, so this nut here on the standard mount is 15mm, so we should be able to get that undone with the gun. Yep. If for some reason that doesn't come undone because the shaft turns, then all you need is a small spanner just to hold on the end of the square there, and then you can undo it that way. And then remove the top mount, which is there. So yeah, as you can see, there's just a rubber bush in there. There's quite a significant difference between the manufacturing of that part compared to the other part. This is just, like I say, cast aluminium. The other piece is a solid aluminium billet that's been machined to suit. Okay, so the instructions clearly say that you have to fit this. These are stock shock absorbers, by the way. That you have to fit this spacer over the thread there. Then you fit the carrier, and then you put this special nut on. But I wasn't convinced that that was actually right, and I was so concerned about it when I saw it. It just didn't look right to me. So I contacted Steeda in the UK, and yeah, it turns out I was correct, that the instructions are actually wrong. Basically what you have to do is remove the existing spacer, which is there. Now you might need a puller to get that off, but it will come off, just slides on, and then you fit the Steeda spacer. And the reason I didn't think it was right was when I did a trial fit of this, I didn't have enough thread showing through on this top nut, and I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't confident that that was something I'd want to be driving around in. So I'm glad I made that call, and I hope that that Steeda will change their instructions. So what I'm going to do is just put a little smear of oil in there, just run that round. And the other thing I'm going to do is, because the original nut is a nylock nut and this one isn't, I'm actually going to use a little bit of thread lock as well. Just the thread there. That's a touch too much actually. So fit the machined nut into the top of the mount. Make sure your spacer is in place, and then tighten the whole lot up. The original nut, as I say, was 15mm. This new one is 21mm. So it's a different tool, obviously. Now again, the instructions say to tighten this to the factory specification. It doesn't say what that is, but I've established that it's 22 foot-pounds of torque, which isn't a lot really. So I'm going to do that in the vise with my torque wrench. And that's it. So that's 22 foot-pounds on that shaft. Okay, so next stage, refitting the shock absorber. So what's happened is, obviously the shock absorber has extended itself because there's nothing to hold it in place. So to get it back in, you need something like this, just cobbled together, just to squash the shock absorber down and then get it back in place. you can see there's a flat that goes to the outside, and it's got the Steeda logo on, so it's pretty obvious. But yeah, now what I'm going to do is locate this back in. There's a couple of little pegs for it to locate under, and once it's under there, it'll hold itself there while you get the fasteners back in. That's it. And then just link that down under the peg. There we go. So that's located now. Now what I would suggest is put the bolts back in, a little bit of Loctite on the bolts, and start them off by hand. Don't start them off with a gun or a ratchet or anything like that, because they can go in at a little bit of a funny angle, and if you get them cross-threaded, you're not going to be very happy. So just gently put them in by hand, and then once they're in, top bolts are tightened to 66 foot-pounds, and the bottom ones 35 foot-pounds. So they're all started off by hand. They've all got Loctite on. So as I say, these top ones 66 foot-pounds. The bottom one's 35 foot-pounds. And that, folks, as they say, is a wrap. And there you can see it all done on a standard Mustang GT. Okay folks, hope that might help some of you out. Just remember that that washer, if you're fitting these to a standard Mustang, the original washer must be removed, and the Steeda one replaced, put in its place. So there we go. Okay folks, hope that helps some of you out, and